If you've been watching any of my videos over the past couple of years, this one's going to be much different. There aren't too many games I can say this about, and especially as old as I'm getting, that really have an addictive power over me, but the new Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild really does have its grip on me. The reason I wanted to do this video is to show anyone out there that have Amiibo that they're farming for treasures, credits, materials, things within the game. You're only able to do this one time per day. However, there is a way that you can essentially do it as many times as you have time for within a day. It's a pretty simple little trick, but all you have to do is go into the game and enable the Amiibo option within the settings, and once you've done that, then you can select Amiibo from your power-ups menu. Once you do that, you'll use that as you do any other power-up, and it'll ask you to place your Amiibo over the sensor on your gamepad, and once it does that, you'll drop treasures that are determined by whichever Amiibo you're using. Now, if you're like me, you've probably tried to do this more than once to see if you can get more items to drop. However, you'll get a message that says you can only do it once per day. There's a very simple trick to get around this, which I'm going to show you here shortly, but right now you're going to see that I'm dropping a lot of treasure from a lot of different Amiibo characters. Before I get into letting you know all the different Amiibo that I'm using right now, I'll give you a little history of how I grew up in video games and my experience with Zelda. I grew up playing the original NES version lightly when I was a young kid, and then really got into the Ocarina of Time when I was in my teenage years, and playing that on the Nintendo 64. I would have to say that the Ocarina of Time was really the only Zelda game I got into heavily. After that, Majora's Mask came out, and we played it for a little bit, my brother and I, and got kind of bored with it, so we finished it eventually. But really, the only game that I got into Zelda-wise was the Ocarina of Time. So since then, I don't even hardly know what other Zelda games have come out, and I just happened to hear about the Breath of the Wild and heard some pretty rave reviews about it. Anyway, we have a Wii U sitting around, and my son plays it, and we do some family games on it every so often, and I thought, well, I might as well try the Breath of the Wild game out. And man, even just from the opening scenes in the beginning of the game, I was hooked. So anyway, since I've started playing, I've amassed a collection of all the different Zelda Amiibo that are able to be used within the game to drop some of these different loots. And I'll go through that list and let you know which ones I'm using and the order that it's in, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going to fall out of the sky should you use those particular ones. But before I do that, you can see a trick that I'm using to smash the boxes. I found this to be the best way to be able to collect all the loot. If you use a bomb, you're going to throw everything all over the place, and then you're going to have to go hunt it down. Or you can use a weapon to smash the barrels. However, you're just going to destroy your weapon eventually. So I just use the boxes against themselves, and it's a pretty easy way to collect all the loot. Another thing I'll note is that I'm doing this during a thunderstorm, which is the worst and most annoying time to do this because all the metal chests around just really create a minefield for you. So whenever I drop these, I usually do it in this particular order, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit, but I usually start with the Link Ocarina of Time, the Toon Link, the Wind Waker version, and the Toon Zelda Wind Waker, Super Smash Bros. Link, Super Smash Bros. Zelda, Super Smash Bros. Sheik, Super Smash Bros. Ganondorf, the 8-bit Link, and then all of the Guardian, or the Heart of the Wild Amiibo, the Guardian, and then the Zelda, then the Link Rider, the Link Archer, and then the Bokoblin. Now the reason I do some of these in a particular order is usually I go the Ganondorf, the 8-bit Link, and then the Guardian, because they all drop the barrels, and then the Guardian drops the big metal crates, which I use to smash all the barrels. It just makes it more convenient to do it that way. I'll also mention one more important thing that I've learned is that you really want to collect the loot from each drop after you've dropped it. If you try to drop them all at the same time or consecutively one after another, after you've dropped a second one without collecting it, the third one will make the other two start disappearing. So you want to collect them after each time that you drop them. And there's also been some weird things I've noticed with the contents within the chests. It's not 100% confirmed, but I feel like if you drop two without collecting, the contents within tend to be lower quality and not necessarily the special things you're hoping to get out of them, but that could just be me or just chance that I've had. And usually when I do this, I go through and cycle out the worst gear and upgrade to better gear as I'm doing this, and also try to refresh my gear that's maybe more worn for newer things as well. And of course you can see all the lightning strikes about to happen all around me. It's great fun trying to dodge all that. So once you're all done, you'll want to save your game. After it's saved, then just hit the home button and close the software. And this is where you get to create an opportunity in which you can go and drop the loot all over again. It's a pretty simple trick really, and I'm going to try and show it on the screen, but between what's viewing on the gamepad and what's viewing on the TV, I'm having to switch back and forth. But anyways, all you'll have to do is next go to your settings. Then once you're in the settings, you'll go over about 3 options to time setting, and all you really have to do is just change the day or the month, anything to just change it so it's not the current day that it is. And then once you do that, just save those settings and leave, and then go back to the main screen where you're going to load your game. And once your game has reloaded, you'll need to go to your saved games and load from your saves file. Now if you've been doing this for a while, your dates have changed on these, so it may not be the most recent save actually at the top. So you'll need to check the dates and the pictures, make sure that you're loading the correct one. Usually it's the most recent self-save, not the autosave. The autosaves may be in there in various order, but usually the most recent normal save or manual save that you've done is the file that you want to load. And then once your game is fully loaded, you're free to redrop all your free treasure and loot and collect and rinse and repeat. Hopefully this was helpful for all of you loot mongers and treasure hoarders out there. There is one problem of being able to store all of these things. It's nice to be able to go buy your house back in Kakariko Village and to be able to purchase all the little shield and bow and sword mounts on the wall. But once those are full and your backpack's full, really you're just going to have to choose and pick what things you actually want to keep and what things you want to toss. I'll let this continue to play so you can see what kind of loot I got at the rest of this run, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Please subscribe and leave comments if you enjoyed the video, and if you didn't enjoy the video, well, just leave kind comments anyway. Thanks, have a great day.